Can you talk about some of the challenges you had communicating with your friends in the early 90s and 2000s?
Yeah, I mean, compared to today, we didn't have cell phones, so we wrote letters a lot. You actually had to have a long distance calling card to be able to communicate, and you had to dial long distance. Even when cell phones did come out, we had really limited minutes. So now you have unlimited data and unlimited talking. Then you wanted to keep your calls brief. So we also had to use payphones. So it wasn't like you just walk down the street and call your friend. A lot of times you had to leave messages because they weren't home. So much less connected and harder to communicate than nowadays.
When you did meet up with your friends, what did you mainly do for fun?
Um, in those days, I was just out of high school and college, so yeah, we had some video games, but you didn't play video games much. So we exercised, play a lot of games. Um, we would go to the beach a lot and do a lot more outdoor activity, I think, than we do now.
And when you were mainly alone in the house as a kid, what did you do for entertainment by yourself?
Yeah, I mean, we read books. Really, I didn't stay inside very often because we didn't really have TV. We had TV, but it wasn't like it is now, where you could find something live stream. There was live TV, so like in the summer, there was only soap operas and these terrible shows on during the day, so you didn't stay inside. So we just constantly were outside, riding bikes, swimming, doing things outside because there wasn't much to do indoors.
What did you wish was what do you wish that was still around today that you had as a kid?
Um, and that's a good question. I would say Atari. I really liked Atari. It was fun. We played Pong all the time, which is a really basic, simple game, but it was kind of fun. Um, yeah, really. Other than that, I don't think there was a whole lot. I mean, we rode bikes a lot more than I think people do now, and I would say we would meet at there was a lot near our house where we would just meet and play tackle football and soccer and baseball and all kinds of sports. So I would say I wish there was just more places where you could go and play sports with people from the neighborhood.
What's with Tari?
Atari is it's like really old school PlayStation. So it was you had this machine and you plugged these little like 8-track looking things in. So we had like maybe four games: Galaga, Miss Pac-Man, Pong, and then something else. So it was like the very first video games. One of my friends had one up the street, so we would go play it with him sometimes.
Hmm. What did you think of the internet when it first came out?
I remember thinking, which is kind of funny, that electronic mail, email, oh, it's never going to work. Who wants to email someone? Obviously, that was wrong. But yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I remember the bubble coming, people trying to make tons of money off of it because they thought they were going to have these websites where people just go visit. So there was a big internet bubble. I remember thinking it was very slow because everything was dial up then. So you were using telephone lines. Using telephone lines to try to communicate with. So I remember it was amazing, but it was also very slow. And then no one really knew how to handle it. So I think everyone was kind of learning on the fly.
Since you were involved in the sport of soccer, what changed from the 80s to the 2000s?
Um, well, really, one of the biggest things that happened in '94, the World Cup happened. So that was a huge turning point because I think that really sparked a bigger interest in the United States. The Major League Soccer started in 1995, and I think that really started to kind of generate and create more interest in soccer. And then, of course, it was publicized and there was TV. Before that, in the 80s, there really wasn't much soccer on TV at all. So, one of the real big advantages was that you started to get cable TV and you started to get all the European games, and then the English Premier League came in. So, all the young players had access to international soccer we all saw it firsthand in '94 at the World Cup, and so access to TV meant more people played, and then it just it just grew and grew and grew.
Did you know what was going on in the world from the 80s to the 2000s?
You mean, did I know, like, in the news and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we knew a little bit, but it was definitely there was definitely less information. The internet was just kind of getting started. You still got your news from the nightly news hour, which would happen from like 5 to 6 or 6 to 7, and it was only maybe 3 different channels, and we had newspapers that would come. So it was much less access, much less information, and definitely much slower. So I definitely think we were already, even today, we're limited and censored by the information we get, but we have much more of it, and you have better access to it than we did then. So yeah, I would say our resources were pretty limited, so that also meant our knowledge and access was limited.
Did you ever think about the threat of Russia towards America?
I did. I mean, it's pretty far away from us. So at one point, though, there was definitely missile. I would say thought about nuclear war was a huge deal. People thought that eventually there's going to be a nuclear war. There was a movie called The Day After, Day Tomorrow, or something that I remember showed what would happen if there was a nuclear war, and that was pretty scary to watch and kind of alarming. So I think we always kind of knew that it might be there, but yeah, I don't think I ever thought, oh man, this is something I need to worry about. But certainly it was always there in the back of your mind a little bit.
Was there a celebration, or could you feel relief when the Soviet Union fell in the 1990?
Yeah, I remember when the Berlin Wall got knocked down. It was just a huge day. It just felt like there was a lot more freedom in the world. Communism I think, was a really bad thing, just the way it treated a lot of the people who were in it, and they were our enemy at that time. So the fact that kind of won that battle, and there was going to be freedom for East Germans was a big deal. So I remember thinking it was like a victory in that there was going to be a little more freedom and peace in the world.
How did 9/11 impact your life?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I think I remember watching the second plane hit the other tower live. I was watching, live TV, and the first tower was on fire, and thinking, oh no, this terrible accident happened, and then you could watch the other. I mean, I was watching it live, and I saw the other plane fly into the tower, and you realize this is not an accident, because everybody thought when the first one hit that it was an accident. A plane had crashed into it, not that someone had crashed a plane into it on purpose. So I think the first thing it did was make me want to fight and go support our country and be involved. It was I think it made you look at everybody a little differently. I mean, the guys who planned and orchestrated that, they lived in our communities and were in our country, and it made you think about everybody who kind of fit that profile, which I don't think is a good thing, because not everybody is bad that looks a certain way or studies engineering, but the way it went down, everybody, you kind of started to look around. So I think we became kind of paranoid and protectionist. And then, just little things like that weekend, we had a game, and I'm a college soccer coach, so the games got canceled. I remember that, and I remember there was a young guy on our team that he was Palestinian, actually, and he was studying engineering at UNC Charlotte. And we had the choice to take him, and his name was Mazen El-Tayeh, or we had another player on our team named Jeff Smith. And we had a chance to travel one of those two guys, and neither one of them played much. So I remembered for a while we traveled Jeff Smith because we thought it was going to be way less of a flight problem and all those things to fly Jeff Smith instead of Mazen El-Tayeh.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got for you today.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.